Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Rachel.
And we're here to give you some tips and tricks for creating a more successful PowerPoint.
So one of the first things to remember when you're making a PowerPoint is that your slide should both visually and textually support a main idea. So to help show you how to improve a PowerPoint that doesn't visually support its main idea, we've created two PowerPoints. This first one was created using a template that is provided in PowerPoint. We simply added our own text in. And while this has all of the information that I want to include in my slideshow, it's really not that visually appealing. So moving on, you can see that there is a ton of text on this slide. It's important to remember that people can only digest a certain amount of information as they're watching a slideshow. So it's really important to respect that, and this slide does not do that at all. Further, the text is really difficult to read in regard to both color and size, and again, our clip art really isn't relevant. So this slide has sort of the same problem of having too much information, and additionally, the information isn't grouped that logically. We know that these are all the hours and locations of Sweetland, but it's not very easy to read. It's just a really confusing slide to look at. So if you do choose to use graphs during your slideshow, one of the important things to remember is to make them really easy to read and remember. And this one really does neither of those things. This last slide suffers from some of the same problems mentioned before. It's not really readable, it's hard to get to the gist of the information, and there's, again, a ton of text. So overall, this PowerPoint is pretty boring. We did use a lot of the same colors and fonts throughout because we were using a template. However, they weren't really that readable. It's really important that if you do choose to use a template on your slideshow, that you critically evaluate it. So we also created a second PowerPoint presentation where we kind of revamped our previous one and tried to make it more visually appealing. So in contrast, one of the first things that you probably notice is that we used blank space a lot more effectively. Blank space allows the eye to focus on the essential textual information, and it's a lot more visually appealing than crowded slides. If you remember on our previous slideshow, this slide had a ton of text, which was really difficult to read. Here we pared it down to the very bare minimum. It's really important to remember when you're giving a presentation that you don't necessarily need to include everything that you want to say on your slideshow. You can use a handout or your own notes in your verbal presentation to add kind of information that backs up what you want to say. In this slide, we grouped our information together a lot more effectively. We used color to differentiate the locations, which are in purple, from the hours, which are in gray. This graph, in contrast to our previous one, is much more readable. It's really clear by both the title and the actual graph itself what we're trying to say, and you can look at it really quickly and know that it's about the percentage of visitors who visit each location, and you can find the percentages really easily. This last slide has changed really significantly from our first one. The old one had two lengthy quotes about who should visit the peer tutoring center, and this one cut that down into the essential idea from both quotes that everyone should visit the writing center. Overall, this PowerPoint is a lot more effective. We used blank space to calm the eye, and we used similar fonts, bullet points, and colors throughout the entire PowerPoint. We also used really similar background images and layouts. Our slides don't jump all over the place, and overall, this PowerPoint is a lot more interesting to look at. To see the process of changing a slide in more detail, check out part 2.